All these circumstances can be taken as an opportunity. That's a different way of living life. You can say that's a new adventure as opposed to approaching things the same way over and over again. Right? No matter how circumstances change, if you're gonna approach it in the same way, then you'll keep being in that disempowered state at the mercy of, you know, because you're pawning your well being on circumstance. In reality, the experience that you get is the broadcast that you are employing. Circumstance really has no inherent meaning. Your experience is how you approach it. It is really growing up and realizing that whatever you're looking for is not out there. It's not held by any circumstance. It's not held by a person. It's not held by the situation, by an object, by an emotion, or by a thought. It's really not held, imprisoned, and withheld from you by anything. It's all from you. You are existence. It's all from you. And even if there's the experience of lack or something that is being withheld from you and it's out there, well, then that notion or that experience came from you. You can say you're the one entertaining that idea. That is a runningness. That is an impersonal train, and you are the one hopping on it. That approach or that attitude or how you relate with the world or with life is from you. It's always in your hands. The world does not hold anything. Nothing is blocking anything. For example, the sense of dread or fear is not blocking wholeness, well being, and empowerment. You see, it's not held by fear and dread. These things or these qualities are not held by fear and dread. Nothing is held by anything. What fear and dread holds is fear and dread, not wholeness and well being. You see, it's just that the mind is so mixed up. This is held by this. This blocks this other thing. This is in the way of this other thing. This is dependent on this being gone or something, right? The thing to remember is being simple. What red holds is redness. What blue holds is blueness. Red is not a block to blue. Nothing is blocking anything because each is holding its own thing. Nothing has anything to do with anything. Nothing diminishes or takes away from anything. You know, all the trains are in their own rail, are in their own lanes. The blue train is running on its own rail. Red is running on its own rail. Not one takes away from the other. And so whatever arising that arises, know that it doesn't take away from anything. It doesn't take away from your wholeness or well-being. It doesn't take away from, you can say, the intention, right? If you have a certain intention or decision, if a sense of fear or dread arises, well, then that arises. It doesn't block anything. That is running on its own rail, so to speak. It doesn't have anything to do with the decision, which wasn't blocked, which runs all the same. So no need to meddle with stuff like I have to fix this first. I have to fight with that person because they have an opinion or view that I don't agree with, right? It doesn't take away from your own, you can say, view, you know? Their view is running on its own rail. It doesn't take away from anything. We are free to approach things in an empowered way, to use it as a springboard for empowerment, as a springboard for exercising, sticking to the preferred train, you can say, despite, right? Despite circumstance, despite others, despite the intention of others, and despite the thoughts that arise, you know, taking your power back from the world, from others, from your own thoughts. And that's the thing, you're the one who gave it away anyway. If ever you feel victimized, well, then you gave that power to that whatever external or internal element. It's always in your hands. You're the one. You decided to give it away, and you can decide to take it back anytime. A significant aspect of awakening is unmixing, is coming back to one. Unawakeness is hodgepodge, mixed up, confused, right? All fused together. Again, this is dependent on this. This holds this other thing, right? Red holds blue. Red is a block to blue. This is dependent on this other thing being quote unquote fixed or resolved for it to be. You see what I mean? It's all mixed up. Imagine a jumble of like crisscrossing and knotted threads. You can say that's the ego world. That's the asleep paradigm. And awakeness is unmixing of all that, coming back to one. You know, blue is blue, red is red. Unreality is unreality. It doesn't have anything to do with reality. Reality is not dependent on reality. Reality is not diminished or deducted, quote unquote, by unreality. The external does not hold reality. Reality is not dependent on the external being a certain way. A thought does not take away from it. Circumstance does not take away from reality. So it's this unmixing. It doesn't have anything to do. Blue doesn't have anything to do with red. Red doesn't have anything to do with blue. One is not a block. One is not dependent. One is not held by the other. You see? Again, blueness is held by blue. Redness is held by red. It's not that red is held by blue and blue is held by red. In the ego world, it's all mixed up. It's all hodgepodge and topsy-turvy. That's why the ego always feels victimized, you know, because it thinks that the external holds wholeness and well-being. It thinks that it's in the external's hands. It thinks that its sense of well-being is in the hands of the outside. Like if something happens, then that circumstance or the thoughts and feelings that arose diminishes, diminishes my wholeness or my worthiness or my validity or whatever. In reality, it doesn't have anything to do with that. What circumstance holds is it itself, meaning it's circumstance itself. It doesn't have any inherent meaning. What is held by circumstance is circumstance, basically, not wholeness, not validity, not worthiness or anything. The meanings does not actually have anything to do, with circumstance. It actually holds nothing but itself, meaning the props hold nothing but the props, but themselves, but the object, basically. It's just that the mind creates a link, like a hodgepodge link that connects it to, let's say, worthiness and wholeness. right? But this link is imaginary. It's a creation, or you can say it's a confusion, right? It's just that the mind is confused. Basically, your decision is what dictates your experience. It's your decision or choice of the running train that you hop onto, or the broadcast that you plug into or tune into. It's taking your power back and not treating the external world as that which feeds you, as that which gives you happiness or wholeness. It's realizing that it doesn't come from there. In fact, it comes from you. It is not looking to the world to serve you, because goodness, or the goods you can say, comes from you. In fact, the world is an empty prop. Your experience of it is how you approach it, is your attitude towards it. If you approach it as the one that holds goodness, then you'll be forever in manipulation of it. You'll be forever in chasing of some particular arrangement of circumstance, or you'll be forever in manipulation of it so that you can get the gratification that you can squeeze from it, right? You'll be forever like an infant, like a child, looking to the external, looking for mommy and daddy to serve you. That's why growing up is realizing that the goods is not out there. It's in your hands all along. The world is actually empty. It's an empty prop. It has no inherent meaning. You can say that the world is free from fault, free from blame. You set it free. You release it from responsibility and take that responsibility back in your hands, including thoughts. Thoughts are also free from blame or responsibility. Thoughts do not hold anything. They're not responsible. They're not to blame, you can say. The power is not in there. Any thought can arise, and they don't actually have the key to your wholeness and well-being. They don't diminish it. They're not a block to it. They're not responsible.